What's going on, guys? Back today with our last and final position ratings prediction video. We may do one with the upgrades and downgrades, haven't decided yet. Kind of been pushing this one off though. The NHL 19 top 10 defenseman ratings prediction video. Procrastinating. Gotta get to it. It's the toughest one to do for me. I'm gonna be completely honest with you because of how many, you gotta narrow it down to 10 players. You got 2 defensemen on every team on the first line. It's not like you got 2 right wings on the first line on every team. So it's a little bit more difficult to nail down 10 players. And I was struggling, like a lot. Can we just give everybody an 88, 89 overall? There's so many guys on this list that it's like there's some big names that just... Duncan Keith, Seth Jones, Goss Despair, Ekblad, Letang. I don't know what happened to Edward Vlasic. I do not know why EA gave him the dirty hammer last season, but he's still a great defenseman. He's still, he's like an 83 overall these days, so I can't imagine him bumping him back up. Bufflin missed it. There's some studs that missed it. Ghost, did we bring up Ghost? He missed it as well. We brought him up. It's crazy. There's a lot of guys that missed this list, but you have to narrow it down to 10 people. All these guys could possibly see 88, 89 overalls as well, but you got to narrow it down to 10 people. There's a lot of young guys that didn't make it. I'll explain that to you guys real quick as well. We normally do bring it up, and that is defensemen especially take a lot longer to see their overalls go up in NHL games from EA's standpoint, especially since... EA or defensemen normally take longer to mature in the first place, right? They usually don't come to the league at 19 and be elite. But there are this special case at the same time as well. With Darlene might be one of them. So it usually takes them longer. Like Charlie McAvoy. I'm sure somebody's going to ask me about him. Why ain't he on the list? He's an 84 overall right now. Do I think he's anything higher than 86 next season? Probably not. It's just, he's a great player, but at the same time, it's an EA thing. You're going to be a defenseman 3 or 4 years before you're a great defenseman. Look at some other guys that are still in 86, 87 right now, like Giordano, Hannafin, another one, 84 overall. He ain't going to see, he's going to be a great defenseman, but is he going to be that 88, 89 overall this year? Probably not. So let's get this going. Number 10 is John Karlsson. What a year John Karlsson had. Arguably the best season of his career to date, putting up 68 points, being a huge contribution to that playoff run the Caps just went on. Gotta find room for him on this list and smack him with that 88 overall. Number 9, Alex Pietrangelo. For whatever reason, this just kind of blew my mind. Did you know Alex Pietrangelo is the exact same age as Roman Josi? There's like a 200-day difference. That was crazy. For whatever reason, it just feels like Pietrangelo's been in the league forever, crushing forwards' dreams since he was, 19? We brought up young defensemen that come in at 19. He's just been, it's crazy. Pietrangelo's only 28 years old right now. It's just nuts. Whatever, I just felt like he was in his 30s, but he's not. It's awesome. Love to see how well he's playing at that age. But, I just tried to find a way to get this guy high on the list at the same time because of how well he's been playing. Just couldn't make it happen. Like I said, it's a tough list to crack. Nothing wrong with cracking that top 10, though. We're smacking Alex Pietrangelo with that 89 overall. We're going to have to quit smacking guys, I guess, right? Number 8, Roman Josi. I honestly feel bad about Josi being this far down on the list. But hey, there's only so many bases on the field, am I right? Josi's been an absolute workhorse for the Preds, contributing very well on both ends of the ice, and is definitely a guy that deserves to slide a few spots up on this list, or possibly not even make it. That's the craziness about a top 10 defenseman list. Again, it's not a shot at him at all. I think he's a great player all around, but it's just a matter of the guys that he would have to climb over to essentially move up on the list. Who knows? Roman Josi, though, 89 overall is where we're going. Number 7, Shea Weber. We went with the aged men over the young guys. You can tell right away here. These first 5 guys on the list were tough to pick where to put them. A lot of 89 overalls, 88s. We ended up going with the aged and experienced ones. We brought it up earlier in the video why some of the younger guys aren't cracking the top 10. How some of the older guys kind of had the advantage as a defenseman. Shea Weber, though, for whatever reason, just kind of got thrown under the bus by EA and the rest of the league once he went to Montreal for some reason. I didn't quite understand that one. He's still a great player. Had he not gotten injured this year, there's a solid chance Weber makes the All-Star game and finishes top 13 in Norris voting for the 11th straight season. 11 straight years. 11. Even a year in Montreal. I'm baffled, to be honest. Weber's seen a 6-point downgrade last year from EA, going from NHL 17 to 18, from like a 94 to an 88. I understand there was a little bit of an overall temperament in general, overall for everybody, but that was off a season. He finished 4th in Norris voting, just missing, barely missing, being a finalist for the Norris at the end of the 2017 season, and he's seen that big downgrade. Another thing that kind of separates Weber from the rest of these guys is his ungodly slap shot. He's a bigger dude, which is great for traits in general in NHL. When you're a bigger dude, you get to see them physicality traits, the strength, the hitting, the checking, all that stuff goes up because you're a bigger dude. Not to mention he's got, like I said, that slap shot. That's going to help your shooting a lot more. he's got them extra traits that help boost good, solid, great, whatever you want to call him, defenseman. An extra point or two on that overall. But I'd be lying if I said I've seen more than 2 Montreal games all season. So maybe he's, you know, losing his step a little bit back there, and I'm foreseeing incorrectly here. Nonetheless, we're going to abide by EA standards here, and since he was an 89 overall going at the end of this season, we're going to slap him with an 89. We're going to give him an 89 overall this season. I don't know why we keep saying slap. That is not, I don't know. Coming in at number 6, though, is Ryan Suter. Ryan Suter will find him above this quote-unquote pack of guys, these 5 guys that I can find interchangeable very easily on this list that we just went through 6 to 10. For multiple reasons. One being, he's just been on the ice literally for half the game for the Wild for what, the past 8 years? The minutes Suter logs is just crazy and is actually something often looked at in years past by EA. The second reason being, Suter was ranked 6th last year by EA, and we don't mean to copy the position back-to-back years, but when you look at it as more he's already earned his spot up here and he's done nothing wrong to lose that spot, I think you got to give Ryan Suter that 89 overall in that 6th spot. The top 5, here we go. Number 5 is Brent Burns. Burns has been playing stellar defense his last few seasons. This season, he had a very, very slow start to the season, if we all remember, at least from a goal-producing standpoint, after he came off that 30-goal season. And Burns is one of those guys who falls into that quote-unquote matured category where he's coming up, what, on 33 years old now? Kind of reaching his potential, and I can't really see EA raising his overall at all. But at the same time, I don't really think he did anything drastically bad this year to say, oh, he's going to get a big downgrade. So we're going to keep him right where he has at a 90 overall going into next season. This guy's a tank, by the way. Hasn't missed a game since 2013. Knock on the wood for the San Jose fans. Number 4, PK Subban. PK was probably the hardest guy to rank on this list. And I just want to remind everyone before we get this going, I didn't even put PK Subban on my top 10 ratings list last year for NHL 18. Caught a lot of flack from you guys from that one. You guys were not happy. Turned out, EA didn't put him on their top 10 either. And it was a pretty bold but correct decision. But there's a couple of outliers this time around. He had a very good season, finished 3rd in the Norris voting, so he was already recognized around the league for his talent this season. And the second and even more challenging outlier being that PK is the cover boy of NHL 19. And we can let the conspiracies float around, but it does feel like we generally see a pretty nice ratings bump for the cover boy of the NHL games in the past. And that's why I have him sliding all the way up to number 4 at a 90 overall. I think there could be an argument made for PK coming in at 4. But to be quite honest, I don't think it happens if it isn't for the fact that he's on the cover. But he's on the cover, and I think that has a little bit to do with the chances of him coming up at 4. It's only a +2 on his overall. It wasn't 88. To say he gets a +2 to a 90, it is very likely. But here we go. These next 3 guys are in a tight squeeze up here and could easily see any of them being number 1 this year. But number 3, Erik Karlsson. Yes, sir. Karlsson down to 3. Despite being on what was a beyond disappointing Ottawa team this season, Karlsson notched the fewest goals since his rookie season, fewest points since his 2nd season of his career, which when you're talking from a defensive standpoint is normally irrelevant. But when you're a guy like Karlsson who is notorious for his offensive capabilities and they have a decline for a season, it has to be noted. Not to mention, faulty stat here that no one probably wants to hear about and says they're calculated improperly and everything else, but Erik Karlsson had 80 less blocked shots opposed to the season before. That's a big number. And when you consider how poor his team was doing, the fact that he's got some quote-unquote outside distractions, it's very possible he was just going through the motions near season's end. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Karlsson going through the motions is still better than 90% of the league. But to have the year he did, unfortunately means we can't let him retain that number 1 spot. But I would be surprised if his overall drops much at all after just one meh season and a very good meh season. Fun fact though, Karlsson was 2nd in the league in 2016-2017 in blocked shots, right? 2nd in the league. And EA gave him an 85 overall in the blocking. Like, I don't understand how, I understand how some attribute categories can be subjective, but what can the stat shot blocking refer to other than block shots? I don't think the 2nd best shot blocker in the league only gets an 85 overall on a shot blocking category. I don't know. EA must still be under the presumption that he doesn't play defense like he didn't back, when he was 20, but I don't know. We'll leave it as it is. Erik Karlsson's going to see 91 overall. Number 2 is Victor Hedman. Hedman manned the point of one of the most prolific offenses in the league last season. He logged his best goal total for a season of his career with 17. Logged over 25 minutes time on attack on average for the first time in his career. Most importantly, is now our current reigning Norris Trophy winner and is very well deserved of a top 2 spot on this list. And he's going to get a 92 overall because of it. It's how he ended the season. It's how he's going to start next one. And then that leaves one person at the top of our list. It's not Zach Werenski. It's not Seth Jones. Not allowed to put Blue Jackets on a list these days. Not that I would have put Werenski on the top 10. But Drew Doughty. How about Drew Doughty? Normally when you have 2 elite players at the top of the list, I'm going to give the nod to the guy who brought the hardware home the season before, which was Hedman. But this just feels like a different case. Hedman was first in voting. But Doughty did not lose by much in the voting. He finished second. When you're talking about elite players, I believe longevity does have to be looked at as well. And in Drew Doughty's career, do you know how many All-Star games Doughty has missed? How many he hasn't been elected to? I'll give you a second to think about it. Hedman, on the other hand, has made 5 in the last 9 years All-Star games. Finished top 10 in the Norris voting 4 times in his 9-year career. But back to Doughty, though. The correct answer, how many times Doughty's missed the All-Star game in his career? 0. This guy has literally made the All-Star team every single season of his career. That's almost unheard of for a defenseman. Throw on the fact that 8 of those 10 years he finished in the top 10 for Norris voting. The only guy remotely close to those numbers is Shea Weber, who did just come off an injury this season and a slacking of a spanking of an overall downgrade last year from NHL, so he ain't going to be any sort of competitor for that number 1 spot either. There are a lot of really good D-men in the league. The list is tough. It's tight. Like I said, it was a tough one to make. You can put like categories. Maybe you have like your top 4 guys and your bottom. And you know, you can bring up like 4 good defensemen. And you go from like 5 to 15 and they're all interchangeable. There's a lot of good D-men in the league. I'd love to hear your guys' list. As always though, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.